I warmly welcome you for this information session. I'm Roya Ayazi, the Secretary General from the European network NEREUS. I see also new faces. NEREUS stands for Network of European Regions Using Space Technologies. And we are an association of European regions, that's the level next to the state, working on better using space-based data and space-based service. We want to spread the use and a better understanding. We want to encourage regions to experiment to space and to look into the opportunities of space. We work on three main columns: political dialogue, advocacy, interregional partnerships, cooperation, mobilizing ESA and EU-funded initiatives for regions to experience space. And the third pillar is outreach, new trends, getting a better idea what is space about. Today we have an info session on the ESA Business Applications for Space Solutions Program and the open calls. And I'm very pleased to welcome Massimiliano Accieri from the European Space Agency, who will give us an introduction into the program and some of the open calls. Please, Massimiliano, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Roha. And first of all, thank you to you and Margarita for the invitation. We are very happy to talk about our program today, and I'm happy to see a lot of stakeholders that in the past had the opportunity to work and to talk with when I was working for Planetech. And so a warm welcome also to all the stakeholders. And I think that this morning will be a good opportunity to also for all the stakeholders that are in the meeting, because it will be an opportunity for them to look at the open calls that we have at the moment, also of course the one that then we will specify the one that require also direct negotiation and many other forms. But yeah, it will be an opportunity to foresee any opportunity that you have in your organization and could be covered by our program. Just a quick introduction from myself. I'm Massimiliano Accieri, as Roha already introduced me, and I'm working at Norvik in Norvik site at ESTEC for ESA. And I'm a technical officer taking care about the activities about this program that mainly is trying to funding opportunities and coming from the industry in submitting ideas that are innovative from a technological point of view and have a strong commercial traction, a strong commercial focus. But we will see this in the presentation. I would like also to introduce you my colleagues, Noelia, that I will leave the floor to her very quickly, and to Maisie as well. They work from the EXAT site, but I let them introduce themselves, and thank you for the attention. And then, Noelia, when you want, you can start the presentation.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Roja, for the introduction, and to the whole NEREUS team for giving us the opportunity to introduce the BASS program. And also thank you, Massimiliano, because you did already a nice presentation, a nice introduction, and hopefully I can complement the information you provided. So, as we mentioned, today's webinar's objective is to really introduce you to the Business Applications for a Space Solution Program within ESA. And today we are here with Massimiliano and with Maisie to introduce you to different funding opportunities. At the very end, we will have a Q&A session, so please feel free to ask any question that you want, and we will try to answer them at the very end of this presentation. So the plan for today's webinar is really to give you an introduction of the Business Applications program, and then we will introduce you to different funding opportunities. The first two ones are going to be a space for underwater radiated noise management And the second one is going to be a space for sustainability, sports, and mass events. After the introduction to those funding opportunities, we will give you information and the steps on how to apply for those ones. And then we will introduce you to the opportunity space for hazardous material monitoring and a space for green hydrogen. And we will also introduce you how to apply for those two ones, because the steps are slightly different. And as I mentioned, at the very end, we will have a Q&A session. So just to start with our program, so when people think about space, usually the first thing that comes to mind is always launching satellites, exploring different planets such as Mars, and also sending humans to space. But within ESA, we not only do that, but we do that's not everything that we do other things. And a very important part of what we do within ESA is where the Space Solution Program stands. And that is making sure that all the data that is generated in space can be used on Earth for applications that will bring social and economical value, sustainability value, and safety and security. And specifically, we really believe that the space can really have a key role in improving life here on Earth. And we have just introduced you the Business Applications for a Space Solution Program, which is where we work. And what we do is really to provide funding for European companies to develop innovative services in any market using any space asset. And when we talk about the space assets, we really want to highlight that we are not only talking about Earth observation, but we are also talking about satellite communication, satellite navigation, technologies that have been developed for spaceflight use and space weather. So all that space data can be potentially, but not necessarily, coupled with other technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, drones, IoT sensors, etc. So the opportunities here are massive for you to develop innovative services. And then the objective is to develop those services having in mind the users, because we are a user-driven program, and then to develop those services in different markets. Today, we are going to introduce you to different funding opportunities that tackle different market verticals, such as the energy one, the maritime one, the environmental one, and the sports one. But we support companies providing services in other markets, such as agriculture, for example. You can see all of them here. So this is basically what we do, to support companies in providing funding. And the funding that we provide is co-funding, meaning that we provide between 50 to 80% of the funding for developing the activity. And what I really want to highlight is that it is zero equity funding. And this is really important because we don't take any equity on the companies or the projects that we work on. And at the same time, we don't take any IP. And this co-funding can go from 50K up to 2 million, even though we know we don't have an upper limit. And we will come back to that a little bit later. Then we also provide a tailored support. So if you decide to work with ESA, and if you decide to apply for the different opportunities that we are going to present today, you will be assigned a person in ESA that will take you through the process of application, and then will continue to work with you during that activity. Besides, we would like to highlight that we have several partnerships that we have been building in the past years. And those partnerships are with different companies and different organizations. And in a specific market sectors, we have created task forces. And that is the case for the energy market, because we have a task force that is dedicated to the energy vertical. And then the same thing for the maritime, because we also have a task force within the maritime. And these task forces are really a group of companies or organizations that support us in finding key priorities on that sector, and that we can provide you with access to those organizations. So in the future, you can maybe work with them within the activity. Then also what we find really helpful for small teams and also for teams with new ideas is that having the funding coming from ESA can really add an element of credibility. And as I mentioned, we support companies developing different types of activities, and specifically we support companies the types of activities that you can see here. We have kickstarts, feasibility studies, and demonstration projects, and we are going to provide a description on those activities in a minute. But for applying for those type of activities, we have 2 entry points. The first one is direct negotiation, so that means that we will have specific thematic goals, and you can apply to them, but we also have a permanently open call for proposals. So that means that at any time you can come to us with your idea and you can go through the process of applying through the direct negotiation. Here you have the total cost of those activities coming from direct negotiation. And you can see that, for example, feasibility studies can go up to €500,000, and in demonstration projects we don't have an upper limit. However, obviously you will need to keep in mind that we provide co-funding, so you will need to match the funding needed for the quantity that you will be requesting. And then we have as well invitation to tender or open competition calls. And in this case, the activities that we support are going to be feasibility studies and kickstarts. And here you can see as well the funding for this type of activities when we talk about open competitions. And as we mentioned, what brings us here today is a number of calls that we have currently open. And those calls are the ones that you can see on the screen. So in the direct negotiation entry point, we have the space for underwater radiated noise management and the space for sustainability, sports and mass events. And those 2 thematic calls support activities such as feasibility studies and demonstration projects. Then we would like to introduce you as well to 2 open competition calls. The first one supports feasibility studies, and that one is the green hydrogen as a sustainable energy source. And then we have kickstarts, and in this case, we would like to introduce you to the call which focuses on hazardous material monitoring.
Noelia, sorry to interrupt you. I would like only to add the one thing that I think is important for the audience, because today there are a lot of institution or public administration, I would say, that really can benefit about this note. Of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, these kind of activities are, of course, directed to companies, to private companies. But the really important core of these activities are not research activities, but are activities that should be really focused on commercial traction. And in the end, what we would like to obtain is to have a product that or service or an application that really goes to the product portfolio of the company that is developing this activity, and as requirement from their side is very often ask them to have a very engaged and very connected potential user. And in this case, so your role should be really the one of being the user connected with the private industry, having an important role and helping them, in building the requirements to satisfy a need that you have in your organization. So I'm inviting you to think any need that you have, related to the open course that now Noelia will start to talk, and maybe we can find a solution and also a stakeholder with you that can solve this problem. So sorry to interrupt you, Noelia.
No worries. You did an introduction to what I was going to say, because the objective of the slide will be to really let you know that we are a commercialization program, meaning that obviously what we are looking for is those services that are going to be viable, commercially viable after the activity. So the idea is for you to think about kickstarts, feasibility studies or demonstration projects, not as a standalone project, but also as a pathway to commercialization. Because as Massimiliano mentioned, we are really commercially driven, and you have to show that the activity that you are gonna provide to us, that you're gonna suggest to us, has a commercially focus. And talking about the different types of activities, we have kickstarts, as we mentioned, we have feasibility studies, and we have demonstration projects. And the difference between them is basically the maturity. And when we talk about maturity, we are not only talking about technical maturity, but we are also talking about market traction, and we are also talking about commercial viability. So let's start with Kickstart. So like this, you see what's the difference between the three of them. So Kickstarts are activities that will last up to 6 months. And in that case, we give you the opportunity to really explore the viability of the service that you are proposing, of your idea. So like this, you can really take that there is a business case behind. And what we always suggest is that you start your journey by really engaging with potential customers, because in the end, your service has to really solve the problem that those customers have. So the idea is to really understand that problem. So like this, your service will focus really on that. And then as well, during the Kickstart, you can evaluate the economic sustainability and start with the commercial traction to that. Then the second type of activities that we support is feasibility studies. Feasibility studies normally last around 9 months. And the objective is to really consolidate a business case at the very end of the activity. And for that, you will have to engage with potential customers. That's one of the requirements that we have. And you will really need to show that the service that you are proposing is economically viable, is technically feasible, and also, obviously, the customers want that service, because, as mentioned, the objective of our program is for you to reach a commercialization stage, meaning that we want you to continue providing that service to the customers you will engage with. So one of the things that I would like to mention again is that after Kickstarts and feasibility studies, if you show that the service has that traction coming from the customers, that is technically feasible and that is technically feasible and is commercially viable, you can continue the journey with us, because you can always apply to a demonstration project, and we will support you into that final step before you have an operational service. And the objective of demonstration project is really to develop, to test, and to trial the service with the pilot users on board, with the final end game, as mentioned, to really hope that those pilot users that will be involved in your demonstration project will become the first customers. So really the end goal is to have an operational service, not just to run the activity and then not to continue. And when we talk about operational services, we are talking about customers and hopefully investors interested in your service. So again, as a wrap up, we really support companies within the pathway to commercialization, and that's why we have different activities at different levels. So like this, you can really test your idea and you can really develop it before you become an operational service. And then, as I mentioned, we have different calls, and we would like to start with the 2 calls with the entry point of direct negotiation, and those are the thematic calls: a space for underwater radiated noise, and then a space for sustainability, sports and mass events. So let's start with the first one, which is the space for underwater radiated noise management call for proposals. And in this case, underwater radiated noise has really emerged as a major and growing environmental pressure in the marine ecosystem, and is largely driven by human activities such as commercial shipping or offshore operations. And when we talk about offshore operations, we can consider as well impulsive noise coming from activities such as seismic surveys or construction. And this is going to be more spatially limited. And what I would like to highlight is that this thematic call is not only focusing on the underwater radiated noise coming from shipping, but also for those other activities that I mentioned, such as offshore operations, seismic service, etc. So the key opportunity here is that we have seen that in the past years, the efforts are increasing coming from different organizations, such as the IMO, the UK or the European Union to really monitor, regulate, and mitigate this noise. So that's why, thanks to the collaboration that we had with different stakeholders within the Maritime Task Force, we identified this as a key challenge, and that's why we have this open call for proposals open. So just a wrap up about this call. It opened on the 1st of September, and it's going to be closing on the 17th of October. And the objective is really to support the development of innovative services that will leverage space technology, because this is obviously a key point within our program, to address the challenges posed by underwater radiated noise to the marine environment. Here you have a QR code, so please feel free to scan it, and like this you will have access to the dedicated web page to the call, in which you will have more information about this call that we have currently open. As I mentioned, the focus is to support feasibility and demonstration projects, and we will cover between 50 to 80%. And the activities can last from 6 months to 2 years. Then, as mentioned, we have worked with different stakeholders to identify a number of challenges, or what we call use cases. And something that I would like to highlight is if you work within this topic, you can always feel free to reach out to us and to propose a solution that will tackle a different challenge or a different use case. But obviously, please be sure that you engage with the potential customers for that solution, because we are really a user-driven program. So here I would like to provide you a very high level of the different use cases that we have identified. But please, I encourage you to scan the QR code, as I mentioned, go to the web page, and if you scroll down, you will see a number of PDF or PDFs, and in there you will have the one that is called call activity description, and if you go to the point 2, you will have a better description of those use cases, and you can always have a look into that. So the first one really focuses on the shipping industry, and that's what we call the quiet marine environment. So in here, we really identify that we have companies that can really support the design of ships to really consider the mitigation of underwater radiated noise through voluntary certification and compliance, and for example, as well, quiet ship operation. And also another challenge that we identified, or another opportunity, is that we have seen that some ports, such as the Vancouver port in Canada, they support shipping companies that really try to improve or to mitigate the effect of underwater radiated noise. Then we have a second challenge, which is related to environmental services, such as, for example, improving the monitoring of underwater radiated noise, doing the risk mapping of underwater radiated noise impacts, and also one specifically in marine protected areas, which focuses on monitoring the shipping, more focus on ferries, for example, and to estimate and to try to mitigate the impact of those activities. And then the last one is related to subsea activities, such as, for example, construction noise mitigation or continuous machinery. But as I mentioned, this description is very high level, so please go to the webpage and have a look into the activity description, because there you will find more information. And again, we identified those challenges, but feel free to come to us with another idea related to this topic that will solve the issues of your customers. Then obviously the value of space. In this case, direct detection of underwater radiated noise is not possible from space. However, we have seen that several space-based assets will really provide a valuable proxy data that can significantly enhance the understanding, monitoring, and mitigation of underwater noise emissions. So we have here satellite communications, and obviously we have automatic identification systems. And in this case, this has to be satellite AIS. And this space asset can really support you correlating, tracking the vessel movements, for example, and supporting the modeling and the correlation of noise emissions with specific traffic patterns. And then when AIS is integrated with in situ acoustic sensors or distributed acoustic sensing system, so DIS. AIS can really enhance both real-time and retrospective analysis of underwater noise. Then we have a satellite Earth observation. And in this case, satellite Earth observation can really be used for the environmental characterization of the environment, such as providing information about the bathymetry, the sea surface temperature, chlorophyll data or wave data, because this is really gonna influence how the noise is propagated underwater. And then also we have that this characterization is fundamental not only for maritime traffic modeling, but also for environmental impact assessments for offshore developments as well, for example. So really, EO systems can contribute to monitor vessel activity in protected areas because thanks to that, we can in some cases detect vessels as well using Earth observation. And then we have GNSS, and in this case, GNSS really underpins the positioning accuracy for AIS for precise modeling, and it can also be used for geofencing sensitive areas to enable noise reduction measures. And now is the time for us to introduce you to the space for sustainability in sport and mass events.
1 second, maybe we can make a short break here, and because I have quite a number of questions, so maybe before you go on, we have a look at them. It's maybe easier also for you then to have to come back.
I agree, Roya. Yeah, we can have this first round of questions. So
now, first, thank you very much for this illustrative presentation, and was very clearly presented and well structured. And I would have also announced you. I hadn't got your name. We had exchanged email, but I didn't know you were going to speak. Otherwise, I would have also introduced you. So we have some questions in the chat. Massimiliano, can you confirm that we can send the presentations after the meeting to the participants? I think we discussed this, but just to be on the safe side.
Yes, we can share the presentation, and maybe Roja, we will send it to you and Margarita, and you can share it with the audience.
Perfect.
And
thank you very much.
Sorry to interrupt you as well, is because in the case of the underwater radiating noise and the sustainability in sports and mass events, those one are thematical. So for any company that wants to apply, we can also share our emails because they can reach to us if in case they have any questions, because these one are thematical. So please feel free to reach to us if you have any questions that maybe we don't have the time to solve today, or maybe if you have questions after the webinar, don't hesitate to write to us because we are always happy to support you if you have any question.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from our associate partner in the Veneto region, Stefania De Sorzi. She asks, is there any restriction where the team company is based? Does it have to be Switzerland, or which is the country where the respective team or company has to be based?
Yes, so we have dedicated a slide afterwards about who are the countries that are ESA member states. And you have that information as well in our webpage. So we have different member states. We are the European Space Agency. So we have countries such as the UK, such as Norway, such as Switzerland. So if your company is based in any of those countries, you can always apply to us because obviously we have those as member states. And also one thing that I would like to clarify is that your company has to be based within one of those European countries, but your service can be provided worldwide. So if you want to develop a service and your customers are based outside of Europe, that's not an issue for us as long as the company is based in Europe.
Thank you. And also a little remark, when you see the slide that Noelia put in the chat, you see down there a little banner with all the flex countries that are part of ESA. We received a comment from one of our partners in the Veneto region, Mirko Mazzarola from the administration. I agree that the role of region is to support companies through procurement. However, is there a mechanism that would allow the public administration to directly award a contract for a service developed by a company that has received ESA support without the need for an open tender? Have you encountered before any cases like this?
Yeah, I can take this, Noelia, if you want. You can answer as well. But yeah, generally speaking, of course, once that the activity is completed, is finished, of course, the aim, as I mentioned before, is that activity will go directly to the product portfolio of the company, and so it's let's say available for any potential customer, and of course also of a public administration entity. And so this is the answer. But of course, we suggest and we advise, if public administration, a region or a department has a specific problem that could be solved, during an activity, through an activity of through this program, and with a company that is really working with the public administration to collecting the requirements and then making a demo phase also directly with the entity would be even more better, because in that case you're really working together with the entity, and you're solving really the issues that they are facing. Hope that my answer is completely and satisfying. But yeah, anyway, Mirko, if you want to go deeper, please let me know.
No, thank you. It's very clear. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. We have another question from our member in Catalonia, David Omar Zadeh. He is from the Space Studies Institute in Catalonia, and he asks, can a company apply independently, or it needs to be supported by a public institution? Also, should it be a consortia or standalone company that can apply?
So all of them mainly. So the company can decide to apply independently or with subcontractors or with external partners as well. So it really depends on the type of activity, and also of course on the background and the knowledge that the company has. So if it needs some help before in designing a specific part of the activity, is usual that the idea are submitted by consortia, but could be also a single entity. It depends, of course, also on the size and experience of the company as well, and could be also supported by public institution, university or research institution as well. And there are also specific rules for the co-founding and founding, of course, for these kind of entities, and also different condition if the company is a SME or is a big company. And you can find all the information that you need on the businessesa.com. And hopefully this answer to your question, Dawood.
I would like to mention that I have copied the link of our website, and there you will have information about the funding at the very top down of that link, and also information about feasibility studies and demonstration projects.
Okay. Is it okay for you? The answer is satisfying you, or you have more? You want to go more in depth?
Yes, it was a really perfect answer.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Then we can move on. Carlos Romeo, our partner from Madrid, from the aerospace cluster. He says, congratulations on the presentation and promoting such interesting and business-friendly talks. My question is, how is your program coordinated or overlapped with other ESA commercialization gateway initiatives, such as ESA BICS and PHILAB, and whether companies can benefit from BASS initiatives and ESA BICS or PHILAB at the same time? Thank you.
Okay. Actually, there are also other programs, not only the one that Carlos mentioned as BIC and PhilAb, but there are also programs from specific for Earth observation, which is in Cubed, and there are also other programs on the Navigation Directorate. So there are really other commercialization programs. What really differentiates us is that, as I mentioned at the beginning, the really strong commercial traction that we have. So in the end, we are really aiming to have activities that will be spread in the marketplace and will have real customers in the end. So let's say the ideal situation for us is that potential customer involved in the activity already is buying the solution before the ending of activity. It does not happen so often, of course, because it's really an ideal situation, but it's what we are really looking for. Big program, for example, is really directed to startups or very small companies that are for the first time maybe looking at the space sector. Incubed is really addressed to Earth observation application. We in our as Noelia showed, we are also inviting companies in using different space assets, so not only Earth observation but also telecommunication, also navigation, and so on. So this is the differentiation between the programs. And thank you, Noelia, for having shared also the other links about all the activities and the different topics that we are supporting.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So please have a look in the chat. We have there the links to the respective program. So, and you have also the opportunity to subscribe to the different ESA newsletters. Maybe also to say this session today complements our European Symposium that we are going to hold on the 2nd and 3rd October in the Azores. And blue economy, space uses for marine and maritime matter will be one of the priority areas, and we're going to share best practices and engage in a discussion with different stakeholders.
Thank you, Rafa.
Then I give back the floor to Maximiliano and Noeli to continue your presentation. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, actually, I would like to introduce you to Antonio, which is another colleague, another ESA colleague that is responsible for the next call that we are going to presenting. So, Antonio, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, hi, welcome everybody. So thank you for inviting me as well. I pasted the link because I thought they were all pasting all the links, so I wanted to do mine as well. Yeah, I'm going to introduce today the calls on space for sustainability in sport and mass events. If you can go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So this is a market-driven opportunity, and what we are targeting here, it's like the well-known global events industry market that is obviously not constantly growing, but also has like a unique visibility. I think it's something that we see in society, how we or people close to us, they're following events, and in particular sport events, but then there is this mounting pressure, not from the fans, but also from the sponsors, because they are attached to the events, and their image is attached to the events, and they represent 50% of the revenue, if not more in some cases, to adopt these environmental and socially not responsible policies. But then we also see that these events and these risks, they are affecting themselves, let's say the events, and that sometimes they cannot even be celebrated. We see that with, ski events. We see every time that there's less snow, or we also see other nature events and the way we are affecting climate, how that's affecting back into the way we can do sport events themselves. At the same time, also we see some frameworks that are kind of putting together all these different voices, like the Sport for Nature initiative, and also like a music festival that we have contacted for this call. So the partners that we have in the call, in the next slide, yes. So we have this Sports for Nature initiative that we have more than 100 signatories, including the International Ski Federation, for example, and others. So they are kind of setting the tone and setting the policies of how these sport events they can affect nature. So we want to see that voice, and they will at the same time also promote all the different services and products that are developed under this call. We also have, as I mentioned, the International Ski Federation. They have provided like some particular use cases, but they're really interested in both sides. So how their events are affecting the environment, but also how the environment is affecting themselves and the event themselves. And you can see those in the call that I have just pasted on the website. You can see the concrete use cases that they are interested in. And then we also have, Love Tomorrow, that is the platform addressing sustainability for Tomorrowland. So we wanted to see all these different aspects that in the end they are quite correlated, as they have commonalities within any type of event, like sport event, but then also festivals and literally any mass gathering of people. And we believe that any services that are developed under this can be potentially used for many different customers. So we want to really help make this connection for companies applying with us so that they can expand their customer base. If we move to the next slide. So these are the common areas of interest that we have identified. As I mentioned, I just want to briefly touch upon them because we are interested in anything that is addressing the sustainability in events themselves. But these are the direct topics that have been mentioned by the partners and by other stakeholders that we have engaged with. And they are described into more detail into the website. So I didn't think there was a point into like kind of dwelling more into those. But those, as you can see, they are carbon reduction, nature and biodiversity protection, circular economy, sustainable infrastructure. So both the pre, the during, but also the after. And then, as I mentioned, the event resilience itself to the external environmental impact. If we can then move. Yeah, so the important date, so the call was open on the 5th of May, and then it's closing relatively soon, so on the 10th of October. As I think, Noelia mentioned, so this is just for the first steps, which is submitting the APQ. So that deadline is only for that APQ submission. And yeah, if we move to the next slide. Here, this is again like non-exhaustive use of space asset, but these are kind of what we have discussed workshopping with some of the partners. In general, I wouldn't take this as guidelines of what can be done, because usually like companies, they are way smarter than us in finding ways in which you can use space data to create new things and things that can be advantageous to the partners and to the end users and to the customers in the end. So literally any idea that you have is more than welcome and will be evaluated, but just not to interest a bit like your kind of curiosity and your creativity. So we have thought like satellite communication can be used mostly as a let's say remote areas or as backup. So for example, in some of the ski trials, this was thought to be like potentially interesting. But then what could be also like quite interesting is like with local sensors in using IoT or for example, for warning for extreme weather events. Then, yeah, satellite navigation. So, I mean, that's not quite intuitive to understand. And this, yeah, facilitates this real-time tracking of vehicles that could be like from suppliers, but then also from like fun, for example, to control all the fun attendance. So that's one of the key concerns from all the stakeholders, because like probably 80-90% of the emissions, they come from fun travel in this case. And we can use this like for route optimization, like to travel all the public vehicles that are put into use, and literally anything. So we are no more than happy to hear also what you have to say on this. And then, I mean, Earth observation, which is probably not the most obvious like space asset for this, in which you can directly measure and track. So what are both the direct emissions, track, for example, the infrastructure, how the infrastructure is being constructed, used before and after. You can also like track back how this has affected like the local communities, even in a, let's say, in a post, or in a post-mortem. So after the event is done, if the data is available, so you can also do it retrospectively. Yeah, so these are just some of the ideas, but again, don't take it as an exhaustive list. And we are more than happy to talk to you about this. And on the next slide, I think, yeah, we can explain the application process. I guess that will be me as well. Yes. Okay.
As you wish, yeah.
So as I mentioned, so the starting point is the APQ, and this APQ, well, it stands for Activity Pitch Questionnaire. It's nothing more than an investor pitch, and you need to treat it as such. You need to really explain in this template, so what's the what, the why, and how, but really convince us that that it's better than the one next to you. So it needs to be treated as this sales, kind of pitch, in which you promote kind of the service that you intend to create. You can find all the templates and everything in our website. So we have, I think, pasted like 1 million links on this. But besides that, we are always happy, if you contact us directly, like to help you in the process if needed. We also have this ambassador platform. It's not in every country, but then if you are interested in submitting, like, please check with them if they can help you. Just to make the difference, so since we are the ones kind of evaluating and following your activity, we can help you kind of frame your service, but we cannot provide direct feedback into the APQ itself, into what can be improved or not, because it's almost a conflict of interest, because we will be evaluating it as well. But the ambassadors, their purpose is helping you through the whole process, iterating with the APQ. So if you are really interested in applying, like, please get in touch with them. So yeah, here we see the APQ. I think the rest of the process is just, following different steps. But if you are interested in applying, I would just say the APQ focus really on that, because I would say more than half are rejected. So don't take it as, yeah, we will provide more info later. You need to really sell the idea, because you are competing with other ideas. And it needs to be really crystal clear, what you want to do and what's the advantage of using this service, and what's the advantage of using space data or technology for what you intend to do there. Yeah, on the APQ, so here you have all the links. So we have sent already quite a few, but you have more here. And yeah, we review the APQs weekly, and the outcomes are invitation directly to prepare the proposal. We discuss, we call it discuss, clarify. So for example, if there are some potential blockers, so we will discuss those points, or then it can be rejected straight away. Just to reiterate, and I'm sorry to be annoying, but most of them are rejected. So really, like, put effort into the APQ, because once you have gone through the APQ, the rest of the process is long, but then it's easier and you are already within the system. We have these weekly meetings, so then you will always receive feedback within 2 weeks or something like that. So we have like a quick turnaround for the decision. And once this has been evaluated and you have a decision, so if it's discussed, clarified, or if it's go ahead, so you will be assigned an ESA technical officer that will be following your activity and will be helping you as well through the process. If we move to the next slide, this is the information that you need to provide in there, but in general is the who is doing it, and you need to sell like what's the company, what's your experience. Here it's important what's your experience with using space data and what's your experience within the sector. Ideally, we want to have both, because in our experience, companies that are already within the sector, that they understand the customer, that they have the connection with the customer, they are usually more commercially successful. So usually these two things help a lot, and this could also come through a consortium. For example, companies that they better understand how to use space data, and other companies that they are already within the sector. Then is the what, like what is that service that you want to offer to the customer, and then understand what's the added value from the service, but also from the space data. What's the value proposition to the customer, the pains and gains, what's the advantage that they get from using this compared to what they are currently using or what other competitors could be providing. Then the why, like who are the target beneficiaries, like why would they choose you? Well, I mentioned already pains and gains in the what. So then this is kind of the important thing about the service, and then it's the how, like how do you intend to implement? So both within the activity that you are proposing itself, either a feasibility study or a demonstration, but then also how do you intend to commercialize after? So it's these two things. What is it exactly you want to do here? What are the blockers? What are the key questions that you want to answer? What are the things you want to de-risk? And what's your company strategy to commercialize after? And then we have this option to do an APQ Plus for a fast track application. Just maybe a comment here to qualify this. This will make it go faster, but then the decision is not based on all the APQ, it's based on just not all the APQ Plus, it's just based on the APQ. So all these 8 pages that are done before, with that we make a decision like yes, no, or clarify. And then the rest, if it's a yes, it will go ahead, and then it will go ahead quicker. But that doesn't add points if it's a no. So if you are not sure, I would say again to probably focus on the APQ rather than on the APQ Plus. If you have again any questions about that, so please you can get in touch. And then so we have for the thematic calls in the APQ, so you choose if it goes through the open call or through one of these thematic calls that we have presented today, like mine or our Noelia's, for example. Okay, I've given already the advice, but I think it's really good to reiterate here. So the APQs are critical stage. Again, I cannot say this enough. I talk to a lot of companies like every week, but then I really need to say this. Most of them are rejected. Like, don't take this as we will provide more information later, because usually that later never comes. So really take the time, like to really be specific, be descriptive, and be like it's an investor pitch. So treat this as you are talking like to any investor. The messages, that you understand the final customer and their pains. This makes the most different. Like for me personally, that's the most important section, pains and gains. That's where you can really show that you understand the problem you are trying to solve, and that you have actually discussed with customers that have this problem. Otherwise, what we don't want to see is a technology push. We don't want a technology that is in a search for a solution. We want a problem that is in search for a solution. Then, yeah, very clear, understandable value proposition. Need to kind of show what this does for the customer. Then clarity on how you will commercialize the development. This is also absolutely key. And again, like if you have some weaknesses as a company or as a study, like we welcome and we encourage consortium, for example, to apply. Like if a company, it's really good in commercializing the solution, and the other is really good into understanding the space assets, or they have like an algorithm that they want to commercialize and they need help. So we want more than welcome, but then you need to hit all these points in the APQ, because we believe you need all this to actually commercialize and be successful commercializing a solution. And then, yeah, clear definition on the scope, so what's in and what's not in. And this needs to be also like really clear. When you apply for either not feasibility or a demo, like you need to clearly state this is as far as we want to go. And then, okay, either we can provide like further support. For example, if you apply for a feasibility, you say, okay, I want to answer these 3-4 questions. And we want to understand like if the customer needs this, if it's technically feasible, and if actually like the economic viability, if it makes sense. Will we make these revenues? Is the customer willing to pay for this? Okay, you the risk all that. And then if you answer all the questions, we can support you again with a demonstration. So that's no problem, but you need to really define what is it exactly that you want to achieve with the activity that you're proposing. Then, of course, commercial focus. I think this reiterates what I've mentioned before. This is also a good point. We get this question a lot, like you can use any satellite data, not just ESA, so any NASA, any commercial provider, absolutely anything that you want. When it's commercial data, like of course, what you need to justify is that the price that you will pay for that commercial data is justified by the revenues that you will obtain from the customer, as usually like it's fairly expensive data. But then that's a different topic, no, that we have covered before. And then, yeah, you need to check the eligibility, which is in the website. We have all the countries that can apply. And as I mentioned before, you can consult the ambassadors if they are available in your country. So as another step now in the process, we need the authorization from the national delegation. But then you need this by the time you submit the full proposal. If I were you, I wouldn't worry that much about this at the beginning. I think that the entry point is the APQ. You just need to be aware that this is something that you need to do in parallel while you are preparing the different stages of the proposal. So you need an outline proposal, then a full proposal. And then by the time you submit the official full proposal is when you need the authorization from the national delegation. So you can contact the national delegations. If you want, you can contact them before you submit the APQ, but I think that APQ is the entry point. Here, yeah, we mentioned again, so this is open to consortiums. And then for the funding, I mean, you have here all the countries, but then if you are going like through a thematic call, like please check the thematic calls, because sometimes there are countries that they don't subscribe for those. And then, so from Greece, yeah, Spain or Canada. So since they are not subscribing to the General BASS program, so it needs to be like through these 5G commitments. We hope in the ministry in a couple of months that this will change, but for now, this is the case. Yeah, next slide. I think that should be done.
Yes.
Yeah, and then this is a different type of process that I think Noelia can probably explain better.
Yes.
But then I'll be happy to answer your questions. I don't know, either now or later, so as you prefer.
Yeah, just to recap what Antonio just presented is how to apply for a space for underwater additive noise and a space for sustainability sports and mass events. And now we are going to introduce the two other calls, which are open competition. And I will give the floor to Massimiliano and Macy to describe those.
Thank you, Antonio.
Yeah, we have a
sorry,
question.
we have one
Yeah,
question before you move on, Noelia. Stefania De Sorzi, our associate partner from the Veneto region, asked for the evaluation of experiences. Must these be in the space sector, for instance, Earth observation, or can the reference sector in which the product service is intended to be inserted?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. Ideally, both. Ideally, both. Well, first, because I mean, you need EO experience not to implement EO or well any like the space asset that you intend to use, and you need it, not because that's what you are developing. And then for commercialization, so in our experience, like it's all the companies that they are already within the sector, they are much more successful. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a formal requirement, but then of course it's like a strong point when we are evaluating. It could be that if the company is great, they show everything is in place, it's a great, but then it's the first time that they are using or that they are working with Earth observation data, for example. If everything else is great, it's a feasibility study, and this is kind of exactly what they're going to do. It's like, okay, we want to implement EO data in this context, and we want to learn how to do it by doing that. If everything is great, even if they don't have previous experience, it could go ahead. No, so it's not a formal requirement, but then of course you are going to be evaluated with that. Yeah, I don't know if we have any other.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you to Antonio, and I think we can proceed with the last part of this webinar. So I will present now this other call, which is a Kickstart call. So maybe we didn't mention which is the main difference between Kickstart, feasibility study, and demo project. So it depends, first of all, on the maturity of the idea, the technological maturity, but sometimes also the business maturity. So typically the Kickstart project are also for in terms of budget, they are limited, let's say up to 70,000 euros, and the feasibility study usually has the main objective to de-risk some technical developments, or also again business developments that during the study you have the possibility to check into the risk, of course. The demo project instead is for activities that have a starting point of technology already a bit higher, and during the activity is foreseen also a demonstration in real world conditions that to be done and to be demonstrated with the engaged user of the activity, and so in the end it's something that is really ready to be placed in the marketplace. So yeah, to give also an example how the Kickstarts are working, I will talk about this other call is for hazardous materials monitoring. So yeah, as introduction, and probably most of you, especially who works in environmental departments in Regione Veneto, for example, or also in Regione Emilia-Romagna, are really aware and really expert of this topic, and you may know how these topics are really becoming important in yeah, for many reasons, for public safety, and for public health, and for many other reasons. So what we are talking about here is about monitoring of hazardous materials, which can be many, of course. Asbestos is one of the main one, and in Italy is a kind of sensitive topic, but also, of course, in other European countries. But also heavy metals, chemical pollutants, radioactive waste, and of course all the health risks that are connected to this to monitoring of these materials. So any type of cancer, respiratory disease, and yeah, also organ damages. And again, as we mentioned many times also in the other calls, we are not looking only to Earth observation space data, but also to navigation satellite system data and to telecommunication as well, because through these space assets, it will be ideally possible to enable the detection, tracking, and also analysis of these kind of materials. And yeah, the reason why this type of monitoring is really important are several. We are trying to resume some of them. So the early detection of this kind of contamination prevents, of course, long-term health crisis and environmental degradation, because the soon you have an action and the best result you will obtain. You can support compliance with the regulation that, of course, is on a European level. Yeah, thank you, Noelia. It's an European level, and all the countries should be compliant with it. And this kind of monitoring also enables faster response, also for urban, industrial, but also in case of natural events, disaster, and these kind of things, and improves planning for in case of urban redefinition, redevelopment, land use, which is another sensitive topic, and waste management. And finally, yeah, one of the, let's say, the main reason that we mentioned here in the presentation is to protect the vulnerable population that are exposed, of course, to legacy pollution or also illegal disposal activities. Next slide, please. Of course, as I mentioned already, this topic is subjected to strict regulatory drivers. We are just mentioning here a couple of the main directives on a European level. So the 2009 148 EC and the number 1907 of 2006. The REACH regulation. These are, of course, the regulatory references that who is applying to this call should refer. Next slide, please, Noelia. So we have tried to propose some use cases. There are three. The first one is one probably of the most, let's say, sensitive, especially for the public administration, and is the environmental public health management. It's known, of course, what the exposure to asbestos can really cause to communities and to the citizens, and so having an effective and using this kind of techniques, monitoring of these substances will be very effective in terms of improved safety, reduce environmental impact, and support sustainability. Some example of in this use case are community health programs, life cycle management systems, early warning systems, of course. Again, early detection is really crucial in this kind of topics, environmental monitoring networks, and the cleanup strategy. Next slide, please, Noelia. Another use case, another topic of interest could be the workplace and occupational safety, because of course, there are a lot of still buildings that have been built especially in the 70s and the 80s with asbestos, and there are a lot of workers that still are exposed to these health risks. And I think that also this is a very popular topic to detect still the roofs or the buildings that have traces of asbestos or other type of materials that are that are dangerous for health. And through the space-based technology, a special hyperspectral techniques recently that are more and more sophisticated, is possible also to provide continuous oversight of these hazardous work environments. Example of application, of course, are the drone inspection, very often integrated with satellite data. It's also important to have this AI predictive analytics for risk mitigation, or having, of course, also real-time information about the exposure alerts, tracking what is the working condition and safety systems, and of course also on a more general basis, also the monitoring of the air quality on using satellite data. And finally, the last use case that we are mentioning here is the regulatory compliance, which of course is something that public entities, but also private companies should be compliant. They are very strict in terms of disposal of hazardous materials, especially the asbestos, which is one of the most important problems that we have. But monitoring of these substances and also robust reporting mechanisms are really essential for ensuring the compliance at workplaces, in industrial areas, industrial sites, and waste disposal areas. Again, some example of application, large-scale environmental monitoring, which is, one of the advantages of using satellite techniques that has, a kind of privileged point of view, being the scale of observation usually very wide. Geospatial analysis using GIS or any other AI-driven mapping, post-disaster monitoring in case, of course, of natural events, but even type of disaster management, and digital compliance platform. Next slide, please. Yeah, again, which is the added value that we can retrieve from space assets. Of course, satellite Earth observation, as we said already, hyperspectral techniques are really becoming a kind of key player in the detection and monitoring of the air, soil, and water quality, which can identify hotspots and also old industrial sites or demolition zones. It's also possible to identify asbestos fibers, and again using the spectral signatures. And as you know, many of you may know, the hyperspectral really gives us the possibility to have a precise and defined detection of these kind of materials. And again, as we mentioned in the last use case, support the regulatory compliance, verifying the safety standards, and reducing, of course, the ground on-site inspection, which are saving cost and of course, helping industries in rationalizing this kind of inspection. Also, the global navigation satellite system could be really an help in or an enable in doing this kind of monitoring, because location of data is really essential, because it ensures efficient targeting of the high-risk zones, and optimizes, of course, also the positioning of the monitoring devices in case you need also, integrated monitoring tools. And when needed, of course, it also enhances real-time data tracking. Satellite communication as well, because in remote area, of course, it's not always possible to transfer the data that we are collecting for this kind of monitoring. And so satellite communication could be really helpful. And this type of technology also supports communication between the teams, the regulatory bodies, and the health agency. And finally, it may offer also reliable and high bandwidth communication for continuous environmental monitoring, especially in remote areas. Right? You can imagine that it's not easy to move the data. A bit more, it's in the submitting details. As I say, the Kickstart is a kind of let's say mini feasibility study. Usually the companies that are submitting an idea and are successful are running a 6-month study, and again they are investigating the technical feasibility, but also the commercial viability of the idea. So the main scope is really to de-risk any technical development or also commercial possibility. Usually the Kickstart activities are funded 75% by the European Space Agency and the national delegation, and have a maximum of 75k euros per contract, but this could be also changed. It depends really case by case. And the natural, let's say, prosecution of this kind of study is, of course, based on the outcomes, are to go for a demo project. We have also a web page that Noelia, I think, already posted in the chat. Thank you, Noelia. And so if you are interested, you can find all the details there. Can we go to the other slide? Thank you. These are all the countries that are applicable for and eligible for funding. So between submitting an idea, you should inform and contact the national delegation and obtain the letter of authorization. Please, next slide. And this is exactly the process, step by step. Of course, you can review it also when we will share the presentation. But yeah, a really simple step. So you have to register on ESA Star and visit the page of the official competition documents. Use the templates to prepare the proposal, and then contact the national delegation. You can find all the contacts related to your case at the link that is there. And here there is actually a mistake, because this specific call will end the 9th of October and not the 18th of September, as it's written here. So sorry for this mistake, but yeah, you will find all the information again on the page. And of course, which is really important, again, and I would like to stress this concept, is that you need a letter of support from, as a company, from the user customer that is your representative. So again, we are really aiming on an idea that becomes a product that can be sold then in the marketplace. Next slide, please, Noelia. Yeah, and it's all from my side. If any question, please feel free to contact me or to write any question in the chat, and I will leave the floor then to Macy, which will present the last part, which are only a couple of slides. And so thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mass. I'll take this. I'm aware of the time, so I'll do it fairly quickly. Let's just jump straight in. Yeah, next slide, if that's okay. Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay, so for the green hydrogen as a sustainable energy source, we're looking for proposals to assess the feasibility of satellite-based solutions. So it's going to mainly be supporting hydrogen technologies with an emphasis on environmental sustainability, operating efficiency, and cost effectiveness. So similar to the last call, it's an invitation to tender for feasibility studies. So it's going to run around 6 months and can be awarded up to 200k euros of zero equity funding. As Noelia mentioned right at the beginning, we've got quite an advanced energy task force. So this call is supported by 3 of those: AREG, the Aberdeen Renewable Energy Group, DINA, the German Energy Agency, and EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute. And it's also supported by WWF Germany. The call opens on the 9th of October and closes on the 6th of November. So before then, we're going to host an interactive webinar on the 30th of September. I think that QR code is to take you to the registration link. So this webinar is going to guide attendees through the scope of work and the bidding process, kind of similar to this, but a little bit more interactive. And it's going to also provide opportunities, for questions at the end. And then we're hosting an in-person workshop in London with the UK ambassador to just further inform and prepare attendees. Yeah, so next slide, please. Thanks. So these are use cases. They mainly include like infrastructure and land use analysis, some emission monitoring. It's not exhaustive, so kind of any innovative idea surrounding hydrogen as a sustainable energy source are really welcome. Again, it's an ITT, so the application process is the same as the one before. So you're going to apply through ESA STAR. It's pretty explanatory once you register and sign into the tendering page. So yeah, that's the green hydrogen proposal. I think that's everything.
Thank you so much, Macy, for your quickness. Yeah, just before closing, I'd really like to invite all of you, if you have also, based on what we presented today, and if you have a strong use case about the proposal that we have presented, or even if you are interested, maybe in proposing an open call or anything else, that you have in your organization and you really feel that, can be supported from space assets and from our program, please let us know and we will be happy to support your idea. And of course, if you have companies that are that are able to support this requirement or this business case or everything else, please let us know and we will be very happy to do it. So thank you again to Margarita and Roja for hosting us, and for to all the audience as well, and to my colleagues for presenting. And if there are any last minute questions, please let us know. We are happy to answer.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Massimiliano. Thank you to all your team for this very instructive and rich presentation. Are there any last minute questions? Please let me know in the chat. Okay, I thank you for your interest. I thank you for joining us this morning. We will share with you the material after the session, and stay tuned. There will be new info sessions and webinars. Mostly you find the information on our website and in social media. And I thank you very much for joining.
Sorry, Roya, sorry. Just a very quick information. The slides you will share can be also publicly, let's say, distributed. I mean, not on a website, but just to maybe a mailing list or to some contacts we have in the region.
I would assume so. I think they are free, given from ESA, and I think it's very good if you promote them. We are very interested to inform about the program and raise additional interest.
Yes, definitely, Lorenzo. These presentation are already very often present on the webpage that we have also posted on the chat. And you can find also other information there if you would like to go deeper. But of course, yeah, you can share the presentation also with your stakeholders and your network.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then we can close for this morning.